Portland Trailblazers won.
They did technically win.
Yeah, they beat the Toronto Raptors yesterday, 105-102. And that game was shaping up to be exactly what we want the Blazers to do, right? Which is play hard and lose. Only problem is, though, the Toronto Raptors said, no, we can lose. And they yanked everybody in the final moments of that game.
Not even the final moments. The Raptors were up 6 with 8:41 to go in the fourth quarter when Scotty Barnes checks out. And it didn't even cross my mind at that point in time that was going to be anything egregious. Because that's about 9-10 minutes. It's usually when you see somebody come out and then come back in for the final 4 or 5 minutes. He did not return to the game. And then I'm like, that's it. It got down about 4 or 5 minutes. I'm like, that's weird. And then with 5:22 remaining and still a 6-point game, it was a 9-point game. The possession before, 2 hits of 3. Jakob Poeltl subs out with 5:22 to go. I'm like, okay, what the hell is going on here? So no Scotty Barnes, no Jakob Poeltl, and then no Jamal Shed, who without Barnes or Shed, they don't have a primary ball handler.
Yeah.
And that ends up being the difference in the game. You don't, like, they just pulled guys.
They tanked. And they tanked, and that is exactly what I think this is what I've been talking about, and what like a lot of Blazer fans who feel like me feel like is this is what they wanted the Blazers to do, and what they've wanted the Blazers to do is say, play hard, have your guys in, but when it comes down to it, if you let the young guys go out and flail, they flail and they lose. I'm okay. I do not think it is a problem what the Raptors did because they're not into winning games right now.
I 100% think it was a problem. 100% think it was a problem. I think it's disgusting. I think it's nasty. I think it's reprehensible.
Why?
Everything about it. Either sit the guys for the whole bleeping game or let them close it out.
What is the what is the problem with...
If you're all of Canada and you're in Vancouver and you have your one trip to come down and watch your team play, your team that you get to see live once...
They at least got to see those guys play.
And you don't get to see... You play to win the game.
You played for 40... But they're not.
That inherently is a problem.
Yeah, but
that is a problem.
How many other teams are doing the exact same thing in the NBA?
Either sit the guys or don't. Either let them play the game.
What you just said though in that scenario of if you're from Canada and you're from Vancouver and you come down and you don't see them at all,
know what you're getting into.
I think that is a bigger issue.
Know what you're getting into. No,
than just sitting them the whole time.
That's playing with the game. That's messing with the game. I don't like that stuff at all.
Well, so is sitting guys.
I guess here's my whole thing too, is that I was led to believe that organizations tank, not players and coaches, but this would sound as...
This is coaching doing it.
This would be as a severe counter argument to that.
That's an edict from the front office saying, we're not trying to win right now.
Then sit them.
Well, they did for the final 8
of
minutes
the game. Then sit them. Don't.
Yeah.
That's screwing. Look, the Blazers did that when they put the Spurs and put John Butler Jr. out there at point guard. I didn't like that either.
Yeah,
I thought that was nasty work when they did that 2 years ago. I did not like it then. And I still don't like it. If you're gonna sit guys and you're gonna be egregious about it. I hope the league comes over the top and hands them the biggest fine they can. I think that's nasty work. I was talking to some folks last night, and I heard Mike Richmond mention on his podcast. I think the fix to this, Keith Parrish, who does the Grits and Grind podcast for the Grizzlies, great dude. He had this idea, I want to say 2-3 years ago, where you have a lottery point system. And in that, the lottery is still a lottery. You don't change the odds in the lottery, and your losses still matter and all those kind of things, but you also have these lottery points. And basically it works where every time you beat a team with a better record than you get a point. That way you're always incentivizing winning. And you can say, well, what about the team?
I agree with that. I think, but right now, with the way that the landscape is the way the lottery is set up, we talked about this. We were talking about this for 2 weeks. The Bulls and the Raptors games were going to be huge games because that's a 2-game.
Bulls and the Spurs.
Well, the Raptors one too is you're sitting there and you're looking at it now. The Bulls and the Spurs. The Raptors sat there and said, "Well, 76ers lost. We're trying to catch them."
Yeah,
and those are the ones that
I don't think they tried to. They just played against the Mavericks, and it was who's worse.
Yeah,
it was 125, 130. They had 11
or
active
the
players.
the Sixers won so they could catch up a half game. Yeah, the Sixers won so they could catch a half game on them, and we're like, all right, we're gonna do it. And boom, there was a big swing there. It is what it is. I'm not. When you have a team that is as bad as Toronto is right now, Blazers weren't catching Toronto to begin with.
No. You're looking at Chicago and San Antonio, which the Blazers right now are a half game in front of.
Yeah,
it is. That's what's actually interesting.
When they play them,
Chicago, San Antonio, Portland, Miami are all within a game of each other.
Who's gonna be on the floor when the
and if you're gonna do it,
teams?
be blatant about it. Yeah. Say it with your chest.
Just shut them down the whole time.
Say it with your chest.
Yeah.
Like I don't like the in-game stuff. Don't like it at all. I think it's nasty work. Because that sends an entirely different message to your team.
They are playing the game.
You're not though. You're not playing the game because if your objective is to lose, then
hold on.
lose.
What just happened to Utah Jazz last week? They were sitting Lauri Markkanen, healthy scratches for games. They get fined for it.
Yep.
Right?
OKC got hit with it too for sitting their starters against the Blazers.
They played the Raptors went out and they played those guys and even played them in the fourth quarter too. And then said, all right, we're gonna let young guys close this thing out, and it was atrocious. And Ant knocked down big threes.
And two.
Yep, Tumani Kamara as well. Like it was, the Blazers had everybody out, and it was like, yeah, they're going to win this game. There's no way they're going to lose this game. And I was with you. I was going, all right, when's
Scotty coming back?
Going to put Scotty Barnes back in.
The Scotty thing didn't even register right away because when he checked out, it was kind of a normal checkout time.
Mm-hmm.
When Pirtle checked out, that's when my ears perked up. I went, whoa. Because Pirtle was giving them work.
Yep.
Pirtle was...
He played 5 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there, and they're going to be able to justify that to the league by saying, hey, we're not in the hunt for a playoff spot. We're just trying to develop young players at this point, and we're trying to preserve the legs of our vets, so we let the young guys out there.
Yeah, you played your 2 ways in 10 days.
It is nasty work, but I honestly don't see a difference in doing that than sitting a guy for an entire game. And they're not playing to win games. We know this.
And again, this is where I'm kind of with you, Dusty, is at least somebody who traveled a ways to see a certain player or whatever.
Yeah.
They will see that player.
Yeah. But I also think that, as this texter points out on the fan text line, he says, you and I are both correct. And that's why the NBA is becoming a more and more unwatchable product. I think that it is late in the year, but it's also when you watch the high level games, like when there were some really good NBA games this weekend too.
There was fantastic basketball.
The teams that are relevant and the teams that are in it, you're seeing really good basketball. But
the problem is you've got
the bottom falls out.
A third of the league,
and that's
that is in this, and it's like it's nasty.
That's why people love the NFL, though, is because this doesn't happen in the NFL. It happens in Major League Baseball.
I was going to say, this happens in baseball.
It happens in baseball all the time.
Yeah. So why isn't there the same vitriol with baseball?
Oh, there is.
Well, there is.
There is.
There is, and they
the White Sox last
year. Guys need an off day.
They literally made a rule to prevent teams from doing this, so they can't get a top pick in the baseball draft.
multiple years in a row. Yeah, but this is why. I mean, every year in the NFL, we see teams peel off a win at the end of the year, where you're like, "Damn, that's going to hurt them." The Patriots were this past year. They were in line for the number 1 pick.
Raiders did it 2 years ago.
they blew it. And so, but that is why, and it's such a short schedule. And when you have the longer the schedule, the more that this has an opportunity to happen.
It's just, I don't like messing with the game like that.
No, but they're messing with the game regardless.
You're not wrong. It's a finer point thing, but my whole thing is like, if you're gonna mess with the game, say it with your chest. Don't do this stuff like, oh, we're gonna adjust in game.
Boy, I think that was with their chest when they said we got a chance to win. See ya, boys.
if that's the case, then why are they playing?
Oh, because you have to play him, or you're going to get fined by the league.
Then take
Like,
the fine.
that's it.
Then take the fine.
Well,
Then take
no,
the fine.
because
say it with your chest.
They don't want to take the fine.
No, say it
They
with
wanna
your
take
chest.
the
If you're
loss.
gonna be egregiously crappy, then take it on the chin. That's what I mean.
Yeah. But I mean, they're getting the result that they wanted out of it, and the league is getting the result that they want. Like all of those fans that are Scotty Barnes fans, they got to watch Scotty Barnes. The Jakob Poeltl fans, if they exist here in Portland,
they're out there.
They got to see Jakob Poeltl.
I guess I'm just mad that the Blazers aren't doing what the Raptors are doing, and the Blazers should be doing that.
Well, in a different way, yeah. In whatever way you see it, it's losing games, right? Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see where they end up.
Who, the Blazers? Yeah. Well, with the number 1 pick, obviously, because the basketball gods are going to smile on them. Because they're doing it the right way. And if you're one of those Spurs fans who's saying just one time, that guy.
Here's something interesting.
One time.
We were only one ping pong ball off from Victor Wembanyama.
There's a Spurs fan who's like, one time. Come on, NBA.
Yeah, exactly.
Just give us the number 1 pick.
I will say, if the odds were, if that idea of the lottery point system was in there,
Yeah.
currently the Bulls would have the number 1 pick, the Blazers would have the number 2 pick.
Yeah. From beating teams with better records.
And what makes that interesting is it's not about this year or anything going forward. It would make teams evaluate in the summertime. And instead of building rosters that you know are objectively
That's a good
god
point.
awful, you would add a few veterans.
Yeah.
You would have, like, look at what the Wizards have done. They've won 6 out of the last 7 games. Why do you think that is?
Well, Alex Sarr's playing a lot better.
And Chris Middleton
Yeah.
and Marcus Smart. Like, you added functionality to a roster. Weird. Alex Sarr started to play better when he had functional pieces around him. Who could have seen that coming?
He had people around him. Yeah. It's amazing how that works.
That helps develop guys.
It does. It does. And that is why you've seen Scoot, Tumani, those guys have turned a corner. And Shaden Sharp, those guys have turned a corner because they do play around functional players.
And if all of a sudden in the summertime, these because you're going to have bad teams, and that's okay. It's okay to be bad and to rebuild and go through the process.
Or just trade your star.
It happens too. But the idea of this is like, you should not incentivize losing to this stature.
No.
It's nasty.
It's not. The flattening of the lottery odds really has not helped. It's actually added some more teams because we've been talking about this. Like, hey, the Blazers may not get number 1, but hey, these 2 spots that they could jump, it increases their odds for the top 4 tremendously. And those conversations are now far more teams in especially in a draft like this one, right? Last year's draft, we didn't see this quite as bad or to this level of how many teams are shutting down. I also think that, we have this curveball of Victor Wembanyama going down, Joel Embiid and Paul George going out in Philly. Whatever is happening with the Mavericks, trading Luka Doncic, getting Anthony Davis, and him getting hurt literally day one.
The Pelicans being built on a burial ground.
Yeah, right.
And everything that happens.
The bottom falling out. Like there are some factors.
Natural selection factors.
Just 4 teams that have just cratered that we didn't expect
to,
but they're leaning into it.
I mean, the Grizzlies with Ja and then the injuries that they suffered. I mean, like, that stuff happens. In those cases, man, you deal with it. But if you encourage them to keep playing and actually developing and making games matter, it just makes the product better.
It does, and they need to figure out a way to make the product better right now. All right, well, Blazers won yesterday evening. I felt happy.
Afternoon?
I felt happy for you because you got out of there pretty early.
Oh, it was great.
You were able to get home at a reasonable hour. That was great for you.
Definitely not going to have the night.